Welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about pointers and how we can pass pointers into functions. As you know, in a typical integer or a character, a typical non-pointer variable, you can pass those variables by value or by reference. So you can pass by val and you can pass by reference. The difference between passing a typical regular integer by value is that it creates a copy. So it creates a copy. Whereas when you pass a variable by reference, because it passes in memory address, two variables point to same memory. And this is an important distinction. The difference is that when we're working with pointers, and don't forget the default behavior of a pointer is to store a memory location. So when you're working with a pointer, what you get by value is a little more than what you get by passing a variable by value of a variable which is a non-pointer variable. And so let's look at what that means. So first thing is, let me declare a variable called p. It's a pointer variable, so it's an integer pointer variable. If you need a simple introduction about what pointers are, just refer to the previous video on this channel, on this playlist. Okay, so this is a simple pointer variable. I'm going to make this pointer variable point to an integer with an initial value of 5. So what this does is it creates a new variable, new integer type variable, and passes in the value 5, so that integer variable has a value 5. Now if I just print this, it should print. So I'm going to print a new line, and I'm going to say, just for the purpose of completeness and making sure that if you look at this code later on, you will understand what's going on. So address of p is given by just p because it's a pointer, and the value at p is given by, guess, you guessed it right, asterisk p. So that is the other behavior of a pointer variable. Okay, so this should basically run, and this should print 5. Let me see. Run. It's not running, or is it? I think it's hung somewhere in the browser. I'll be right back. Okay, here I am back with this. I just had to refresh the browser. As you can see, we are printing p, which should print the address, and we're printing asterisk p, which should print the value, and that is what happens. You can see an address and a value. Okay, so this is good. Next, we're going to understand the difference between passing a variable, a pointer variable by value, and then compare it to passing a variable by reference. So let's just create a function, a simple print function, and this will demonstrate the passing of a simple integer pointer variable by value. So this is a prototype for our byVal function, and I've given the prototype. I'm going to write this function very quickly here. So I'm going to say int pointer, and I'm going to call it x. And here I'll just put one line down here, and that line I'm going to copy the same line. So C, Control V, instead of P, I have the pointer variable is now x, so I'm just going to say x. If I run this, I'll have to call this first. So I'm going to say print P. Okay, so I'm passing in my pointer variable P into the print function, and I'm just going to run this now. As you can see, as we imagined, both of these are the same because this is value, so the pointer keeps the address. Now let's see, so how is then the pointer different? Let me make a little change here. So let me say that asterisk x is equal to now 10. Now think about what I'm doing. I have a pointer variable which I pass into this function. In this function is called x. I print everything and it comes out to be the same variable that we have in the main function. Now I change the value of x. What do you think should happen? Should p change as well? Well, although this is by value, but don't forget this is a pointer. So let's see the behavior. I'm going to call this function again just to see the behavior of the function. Okay, so you can see the value is the same, the address is the same, but the value is changed. So I have basically, even though this is by value, but because it's a pointer variable, the default behavior of a pointer variable is memory addresses, so I can do this much. But let's see if I try to do something else, would that work? So I've commented this off, and what I'm going to say now is I'm going to say x. I'm going to make x point to a completely new memory location. So I'm creating a new integer, giving it an initial value of 20, and I'm going to say x point to this memory location now. So x is no longer pointing to p, x is pointing to this. And so let's see if we are able to do this, because this is by value, we should have some limits, right? It should, by value passing should limit us somewhere. And let's see what happens now. Okay, so I'm going to comment off this top line just so that we don't have too many inputs. So the only output that you're going to see is the first time this is run and the second time this is run. Oh, so you can see we have the same value, but nothing changes. So although I've pointed x to a new memory location, but as soon as I do that, it disconnects from p. And this is a behavior when you pass an integer pointer by value. Now, you may ask, why would you need to pass an integer by value or by a pointer by value by reference? Well, if you want to change the object pointed by pointer, you use by value. And if you want to change the pointer itself, then you want to use a by reference parameter. So let's write another function called print byRef, and this time I'm going to pass in pointer reference. So this is a by reference call, which is represented by this ampersand sign. So if you think about this, this is an address, this is an address, this is kind of a double pointer, but it's not really a double pointer because we are not mentioning it, we're not representing it as a double pointer, we're representing it as a pointer to a memory location. So okay, let's go ahead and write our new function. The new function is print byRef, and it takes in an integer pointer and by reference this time, and I'm going to call it y. And what I'm going to do is, just for the simplicity, I'm going to copy the same code, put it here, and I'm going to remove this line from here, and instead of y, I'm going to say x now. Oh, I'm sorry, instead of x, I'm going to say y now. And I'm going to do the same thing here. So notice this line. Now I'm saying, and this is by reference, so what I'm saying is, I'm saying point y to a new memory location and see what happens. So this is an integer pointer by reference. Now, what do you think should happen? Let me call this function. So I'm going to comment these two off, and I'm going to call this function alone. So print byRef, and I'm going to pass in p, and because we want to see how this behaves, let us call this function twice. Okay, so let's run this. Good. So the first time it's p and everything is the same. The second time the value has changed now. Let's see how different this is from the previous one. Okay, so I have all the 4 function calls open now. Let's run this. So you can see these two are by value reference calls. Nothing changes. I cannot change the pointer itself when I call it by value, but I can change the pointer itself when I call this function by reference. So that's what you can see here. I hope this was helpful. Keep watching and keep liking the videos if you like this video. If you have any questions, just post a comment and I'll be happy to answer. Thank you for watching. Quickly, if you notice, when you're able to change the pointer, your pointer actually points to a different memory location. I missed this part when I was explaining this. So when you pass a pointer by value, the pointer remains the same. You can, however, change just the value at that memory location. The memory location remains the same. But when you pass it by reference, and when I say y equals to new int 20, I'm actually pointing y into a new direction, a new location, and that is evident from this point. So you have a different address, which means now this worked and it points to a new memory location. This works too, because the browser doesn't, or the compiler doesn't give an error, but because it's by value, the original variable is not changed. So that's the important distinction. Whether the original variable changes or not is different in by value with by reference. Thank you.